Hello everyone, I'm Coleen and today I'm finally going to be doing my August wrap-up. Now I'm so sorry if this is uploaded late. I don't know what happened. School happened, I believe, but anyway, I'm so sorry for uploading this late, and so let's just get started. I read 8 books in August thanks to the booktubeathon, and I already did a separate wrap-up for those books, but I will mention to you guys what I read. And the first book that I read for the booktubeathon was Angel Fall by Susan E, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then on second day I read Catch Me If You Can by Beth Reekless, and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars, I believe. And last but not least, for the booktubeathon, I read World After by Susan E, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I did a separate wrap-up video for these books. I talked about them more in depth, so if you want to know more about the plot and what I felt about those books, then definitely check out that video, which I will link it down below and also try and link it somewhere in this video. And then after the booktubeathon, I was kind of sick, but I still read this book that I freaking love. And it's just such an important read, and I read Asking for It by Louise O'Neill, and I would like to thank Quercus Books for sending me a copy of this book in exchange for an honest review. I have already done a separate video review for this book, so I will link it down below and try and put it on this video. And just quickly, this is about a girl named Emma O'Donovan who lives in a small Irish town, and one day she was gang raped, and this basically deals around that consent and victim blaming, and it's more than that, so definitely give this a read. And I have to say, it's not the most comfortable read, and it's not the most light-hearted contemporary you would ever read, but I highly suggest you guys to read this book. And if you want to read more by this author, who is called Louise O'Neill, then definitely check out Only Ever Yours, and that is a dystopian novel. And I love this book so much that I picked up a hardcover of this book, and I both got these signed, and I was so happy, and I will be seeing Louise O'Neill again. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm so excited to reread it, and it was just so relatable because it's the first time that I've ever read a book that is set in Ireland, and just having the Leaving Cert being mentioned made me so much happier. Then after reading such an amazing book by Louise O'Neill, I was in a book slump, obviously, and I tried to pick up another contemporary novel, and I had to put it down for a little while, and I decided to pick up something really quick and something like a sci-fi fantasy, because that was what I was in the mood for. I picked up Fullmetal Alchemist by Hiromu Arakawa, and I picked this up from the library, so yeah. I will have to return this ASAP. This book I really loved. On Goodreads, like, the rating is high up there. Like, I heard that it was higher than the Death Note mangas. I haven't read the Death Note manga yet, but I have watched the anime and I loved it. And I tried watching the anime for this one, but I was eating, so I couldn't read the subtitles at once. I'm not very good at multitasking, obviously. And this follows 2 metal alchemists, and they are brothers, and we follow their adventures. And I can't really give you a proper, like, whole summary for this because each chapter follows a different adventure. I can't wait to read the second installment, and it turns out that I didn't get to reserve it, so I only got the 3rd one. But I can't obviously read the 3rd one without reading the 2nd one. And I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and the graphics were so cute, and I felt like the anime and this book were like one thing. They were so similar and very little changes were made. The contemporary novel that I tried to read was Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon, and I would like to thank Nat Galia for the publisher for sending me a digital copy of this book in exchange for an honest review. I actually have finished reading this book, and overall I gave this a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I was really disappointed because a lot of YouTubers were basically in love with the book, and they were like, it's worth the hype, blah blah blah. And so I was really excited when I had access to the book. And also I have to admit that I did not have a really great reading experience from the ARC. From the people who have already read the physical books, I heard that there were like loads of illustrations, and after I read that one, I was like, I did not have that much illustrations. I remember like 3 illustrations, and that was like near the start of the arc. And I was so excited because I thought it'd be kind of similar to The Sky Is Everywhere by Jenny Nelson, but I just didn't have the illustrations, so I don't know what happened with that one, but I know that arcs are not finished copies, so I totally get that. This is about a girl who is basically allergic to everything. She hasn't been outside for a very long time. She has been staying indoors, breathing filtered air. But the story starts to shake up once a new neighbor arrives and they live right next to their house. And there's a boy who is basically the same age as her, and we all know that there was going to be a romance in there. The romance kind of reminded me of Finding Audrey in a way that they were friends, they weren't really touching, and it was kind of slow, but I felt like the romance kind of went really quickly. To be fair, the book was short. But yeah, I felt like the romance was a little bit like insta-love. One of the reasons why I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars was because it was so unrealistic. You have to actually read it to know what I'm talking about. And I personally like the author. She is a diverse author and she is one of those co-founder of We Need Diverse Books. It also has a diverse character. But as I said, it was kind of unrealistic, and some bits it just doesn't make sense when you try to puzzle things together. It's just it could have been better, and it was disappointing overall. And the second last book that I read in August was Emmy and Oliver by Robin Bentley, and I would like to thank Maximum Pop and also Simon & Schuster for sending me a copy of this book in exchange for an honest review. And this book, I'm pretty sure I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars or a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm pretty sure, I'm leaning towards the 3.5 out of 5 stars now. This book was a mix between a cute, fluffy contemporary and something that also deals with dark issues. This book is about 2 best friends who were really close when they were younger, but a tragedy has happened in their community which changed the views of the adults. And that tragedy was when Oliver was kidnapped by his father, and 10 years later he is now reunited with his family, with his mother and with Emmy. Then we basically follow the idea of, can they still pick up to where they left off? Can they still be best friends, or can they be more than best friends? So yeah, I thought it was an okay read. I wasn't blown away, and I actually really liked the author's writing. It reminded me so much of Morgan Matson's writing, so I am interested on reading more books by this author. I felt like this book could have been more emotional. There was this certain scene that I almost cried in, but it just needed a little bit more punch, and I could have been like bawling my eyes out. So yes, I'm pretty sure I gave this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And last but not least, my Caddy-tastic TBR jar challenge was to reread a favorite book. I'm not sure if you guys know this about me, but I really dislike rereading my favorite books, or just any books in general, just in case that I might not love the book as much as I did the first time. But then I was like, you know what, challenge accepted, and so I picked up We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. And the first time I read this book was an ebook, and just, you know, the way there's like a family tree and all that, I wasn't bothered flipping back and forth, so the reading experience kind of messed up because I didn't know who was who. And so I just finally read my physical copy of it, and this one is signed copy, so I was really nervous that I might crack the spines, but I didn't. I'm not really sure how to give you guys a summary of this book because, yes, I've read it twice, but I still am not sure how to describe it without spoiling you and without sounding boring. So, just know that there is a map in this book, and there is also a family tree in this book. So, yeah, pick this book up if you haven't already. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And it was so much fun to reread the parts where I didn't even notice that much. And so that was really interesting. So I should definitely start rereading books because this has definitely given me a different perspective of rereading. So yeah, that was my very late August wrap-up video. I am so sorry for uploading it late, and I would say that it would never happen again, but that would be me lying to you guys, and I don't want to lie to you guys. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys liked this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye! I read 8 books this month. No, this is not this month. And this is about This is about a book who